but it's usually really complicated because they're alone. Hello.
Chandelier! It is just so awesome to have you all here. Chandelier is an art salon we started a year and a half ago. This now represents our 15th night of events. We've had visual artists and screenwriters and poets and stand-up comedians and fabric designers, all different kinds of people. But tonight you are helping us make a dream come true because it's the first time we've done a full-length live play, which has really been fun and real rehearsals, and everyone's been growing in all their skills just so we're ready to receive you this evening and to share this incredible story. A few things before we get started. Please check your phones. Please make sure they're off, the ringer's off. All it takes is one person who doesn't check because they're like, yeah, I'm fine. And it just kind of takes everyone out of the zone. So if you could please do that. Check and double check. Ringer's off. Phone is off. If for some reason you need to use the restroom before the show is over, we're going to go about almost an hour, 50 minutes. Go right there. They're between those doors, but be mindful this room is going to be dark. So just do a gentle out and a gentle in so it's not disruptive light-wise or noise-wise to other people. Do the best you can with that. Any other questions before we get started? I will tell you one thing. At the end, we have a lovely reception with sparkling beverages of all kinds and charcuterie and sweets, and we hope that you will stay and enjoy some time with us. Ladies and gentlemen, we now present Barbara Williams in Leaving.
Some second child of Simone and Handsome Jack. The camp was called Esperanza. Oh, tell that to my mother. We lived in the wilderness because my dad loved to be in nature. Unfortunately, he was a logger, so he destroyed nature for a living. Now, loggers those days got their work in Skid Row hotel bars, which suited my dad fine. You have to be drunk to sign up for the kind of work he did. We used to drive into the city. Me and my older brother Randy would sit watching over our little sisters while Dad ran in for just a sec and hustle at the job. Then we would wait for hours with scary faces leering in at us. They'd slither past the car, cursing and crying and hitting each other. At closing time, Dad would finally stagger out and we'd hold on tight for the blackout drive to wherever we happened to be living. We were like wild animals with the wrong set of instincts. We didn't belong anywhere. We moved 27 times, but we never went very far. I'm 15 years old. I've climbed up a maple tree. It's a beautiful Indian summer day. I can see the beach beyond the trees. I'd like to go down and fill my lungs with the salt air, feel the smooth rocks under my feet. But I can't move from this tree. I took a bunch of horse tranquilizers that I stole from the hippies I've been living with. I've been stealing speed too, just to stay awake in class. Now I'm supposed to be at work at Brian's Drive-In, but not gonna make it. Last month, I went into the city by myself to buy fabric to make curtains for my boss's restaurant. The only store I knew was the Army and Navy down on Skid Row. Something bad happened. It was violent. A man sees something beautiful and has to spoil it. Like men do with the ocean and the forest. But this was my body. The memory of it covers my mind like an oil slick. I didn't tell anybody. I used to tell my brother Randy everything, but he's been having mental problems, and I don't want to trouble my mom, so I've just gone into the woods to die. But now, I'm looking at the ocean, and I don't really want to die. I just want to go there. My face was smushed into rotting leaves. And I couldn't feel my legs. Ants were carrying bits of me back to their babies. Would I become ant food? Would the crows eat my eyes? My mom was above me in the cloud. I thought, I must be in heaven. And then she said, "How you feeling, Barb?" I knew no one would call me Barb in heaven. I was in the hospital for a bit, got fired, quit school, 10th grade. It just felt like my life was at a dead end. And then, one day, my old English teacher showed up. He'd started a theater company, and he wanted me to play the lead in a Tennessee Williams play suddenly last summer. I couldn't imagine why, but then I started to read. Catherine Holly had been locked away in a mental hospital. Well, by that point, my brother Randy had been locked away in a mental hospital too. I think he just couldn't live up to the manly expectations of Handsome Jack. felt his pain. I felt Catherine's pain and confusion. We're all of us children in a vast kindergarten, trying to spell God's name with the wrong alphabet blocks. It was my truth inside somebody else's words, a safe way to express myself. We took that play to the Provincial Drama Festival, and I won Best Actress. It was suggested that I apply for theater school, but you had to have graduated high school. I lied my way into an audition. I have here a letter from your principal. Shh, they're gonna kick me out. He says you graduated this year, however, all the files were destroyed in fire. Burned your school down, did you? I was not a model student, but my principal just threw me a lifeline. Anytime you're ready. Then devoured parts of it, torn bits of them away, and stuffed them into those fierce, empty, gobbling black mouths. It was a little bit of talk. It's very passionate, Barbara. Do you have anything on the funny side? The death scene from Romeo and Juliet? Thank you. But I got in. And the theater company raised my tuition. They set me up with a good family in a nice part of Vancouver, and all I had to do was housework in exchange for room and board. And at school, I was learning how to speak and move on stage and do sword fighting and mime and yoga and plays. Oh, just playing. Word came to me that my brother had disappeared from the mental hospital. I worried that maybe he had taken the ferry home and jumped off and drowned. When I was acting, I could just leave all the bad stuff behind. At school, there was a teacher who used to cast me in everything, and he invited me to join his theater company, which was another lifeline because I didn't have tuition for the next year. So, over the next 5 years, I did 25 plays. It was like school with no net. Just glorious. Around that time, my brother reappeared. His mental health was worse than ever. His face was gaunt. His eyes had just lost all hope. I wanted to help him, but I could only help myself. I had to leave. I got a play in Toronto, on the other side of the country, and the night before I left, I packed all my belongings, put them in my car, and I was planning to drive it over to my mom's place and give everything to my brother. That night, I had a terrible nightmare where I stabbed and killed my brother. I woke up, and my car was gone. Well, some little shits had taken it for a joyride and ditched it. So, at 5 a.m. in the pouring rain, I'm wrapped in a sleeping bag on a bus heading to an incoming station down on Skid Row. Some drunk puked a little too close to me, so I gave him my sleeping bag. I don't mind drunks. They're harmless. Unless, of course, they're raising you. Got my car, they'd stripped it. They'd even torn off the windshield wipers, but I'm driving it anyway like a maniac through the blinding rain. I get to my mom's place and there's a note on the door. I know it's bad. Don't go in. Turns out my brother had shot himself and died just before I got there. I asked for an open casket, even though I'm afraid to look at what's inside, but Randy wouldn't dare me to look, and I can never pass up on the stairs. His face is perfect. It's an idealized projection from someone who didn't know him. They've rearranged his living, undone all of his living. Someone, a stranger, has pulled the worms from his mouth. Somehow this final death is softer than the rigor mortis of his last few years, all stiff-backed and sore. He looked so dignified in the suit I love. A suit fit for the man he never became. Dark windows, broken sidewalks, a rain storming dawn. Before the morning breaks on me, hoping I'll be gone. Going to a brighter place, I hope I find my way. But hope feels more like grieving. Maybe it's the rain. This in the morning. Down Skid Row Lane. Wasted from the night before. Huddled in the rain. Looking for a rainbow in a sky that's always gray. Hoping that their luck will change if they stay another day. Goodbye, stranger, my best friend. All our happy trips have come to this dead. I'll be back, but I can't say when. And even though it makes me blue, I still miss the rain. Oh, I still miss the rain. Where the trail bends at the rainbow's end. Hope I see you there. You're coming through the rain. Goodbye, stranger, my best friend. All of our happy trips have come to this day. I'll be back, but I can't say when. And even though it makes me blue, I still miss the rain. And even though it makes me blue, I'll still miss the rain. So I made it to Toronto. Note to self, if you're going to be a week late for rehearsals, you should let the director know. They had replaced me. I had no job, no money, no friends. I found a bicycle in the alley and I fixed it up. Spent my days riding around the city. There was this pretty Victorian house that I used to stop and stare at in New York Milan. It had flower boxes outside and there was a baby grand piano in the window. There was something so comforting beyond that window. I got myself another play, got myself a guy to cling to, a dark cloud. He was a little gloomy, but handsome and generous. He bought me clothes because I had nothing. I was a total freak, and he was a total cheater. One night, he locked me out of his house, and I completely lost it. I was banging on his glass door. Ooh, 23 stitches to remind me of my misguided passion. who stitched me up referred me to a therapist. So I got on my bike, headed on over, but I'd never been to therapy before, and I started to lose my nerve. But it was the house with the flower boxes, piano window. The therapist was this funny little guy with a toupee. His name was Woody. Just something about him had me talking right away. I told him about the rape and my shame and my brother's suicide and my guilt and my constant loneliness. That's a lot, my dear. Tell me, what makes you feel good? Music. I like to sing. Well then, let's hear some. Don't offend me, do not hurt me. I was gentle, but now I'm light. I can't be cool, got no ground. Why don't you know it's just for spite? What was I thinking? Was I thinking when I fell for your stupid lie? It wasn't kindness, it was blindness. Now you can't look in my eye. This is nothing, you mean nothing. You're like wind gets stuck in my teeth when there's no heart and no passion. Land must rise to the sea. What was I thinking? Was I thinking? Do I ever think at all? As I sit and count my bruises, was the climb worth the fall? I am walking in the desert. I'm drifting over sand. I'm holding up my arm. Somebody's holding my hand. I'm falling with the cool rain. I'm fading into the sound. I'm mixing into the textures of the tree and the rock and the ground. I'm holding the hand of my brother. He is painting a hole in the sky. I'm dancing in the sunlight. I'm waiting somebody goodbye. That was my therapy. Now, if you feel bad, just do something that makes you feel good. I started to get this yearning to go someplace far, far away. And I got a movie shooting in Israel. It was my first leading role, my first time abroad, my first encounter with the Mad Prince. My co-star, he had a face like a Michelangelo sculpture, Michelangelo hands, a beautiful voice. I was deeply in love with him, and he was deeply in love with him. Something we had in common. After the movie wrapped, we met up in Paris. We stayed at this little hotel under the Basilique du Sacré-Cœur. Everything French resonated with me. My mom's mom was French, but I never met her. Afterwards, the Mad Prince took me to Hollywood. He got another film and he marooned me at which was not a bad place to be marooned, but I just had no reason to be there. I just felt very alienated. I spent my days walking up and down Sunset Boulevard, feeling like I was disappearing. I got so lonely, I started to get the urge to jump off a building. But then I remembered seeing this sign on Robertson Boulevard, the Jane Fonda workout. I hopped into a cab, signed up, and then all these beautiful, sweaty people started streaming out of the classroom, and I was starting to feel like I was disappearing again. And then I heard, "I like your boots." It was Jane Fonda. "Oh, thank you. I got them in Paris." "Oh, êtes-vous française?" "No, ma grand-mère était française." And we bantered a bit in French, and then she said, "Alors, amusez-vous. Au revoir." Au revoir. You know, it was the first time since I'd come to Los Angeles that I felt seen by somebody. I went in, did a sweaty class. Oh, I felt so good in my body. I kept coming back. Never saw Jane there again, but didn't jump off a building. This was the theme song to my first big studio film. You know, it was not everything I dreamed of, but I liked the money. In the meantime, me and the bad friends were going through daily explosions of rage, implosions of hurt. It was mad, hellish love. So we bought a house by the ocean. I got a movie in Pennsylvania, and Mad Prince followed me on because he was jealous of my co-star. And the first night he gets there, he's driving me from the set, and we get T-boned by a drunk driver. We are upside down, crunched around a tree. He's got a bad head vision. And he looks up at me and says, "I love you, Barbara. Tell my mother I love her. Will you marry me?" He's hemorrhaging blood. He could die on my lap. What am I supposed to say? Yeah, not such a good idea. Well, he survived, and we got married. And within a short time, he ran off with a lovely young British model. I was devastated. Once again, alone and abandoned. Men, my mentors, and my tormentors. Now I felt like jumping off a cliff. But look at that ocean. Oh, look at this beautiful place I live in. I am so blessed. How could I ever abandon myself? I am woman, hear me roar! Woo! I met Tom at a Raymond Carver short story reading. I didn't know much about him or the Port Huron Statement or Students for a Democratic Society or his involvement in the Civil Rights Movement or the Chicago conspiracy trial. I did know that he'd been married to Jane Fonda. But afterwards, I was sitting with a group of theater people, just listening, spellbound, while he broke down the whole political scene. He was quick-witted, funny. He had this bow-legged walk, ready to spring into action. He just radiated confidence and strength. Later, I was driving away, and he came riding up on his bike through the fog, inches from my headlights. I almost killed Tom Hayden. I was going away to work, and he invited me to stop by on my way to the airport. When I got there, he was elbow deep in the dirt, planting lavenders. A look I believe was staged to impress me because I never saw him gardening again. We sat in his tree house sipping tea, and he told me about a class he was going to be teaching on deep ecology. It was a comparative study of different religions and how they viewed the earth. Well, I told him about my dad, Handsome Jack, who was kind of a redneck environmentalist. Dad knew everything about the cycles of nature, but destroyed it and himself for a living. You know, Dad had broken his back, wrenched his fingers, ruined his knees, busted all his teeth, all for the logging industry. What did he have to show for it? Just countless injuries and battle stories told over too many months of beer. Tom shared that he was a year sober. Suddenly I felt this kerfuffle in my hair. A squirrel had tussled in my hair and scampered down the rail. Tom said, "You're my nature girl." Then when I was leaving, he loaded me up with all these books on deep ecology. Just what you want when you're getting on a plane. I didn't really know the term deep ecology, but I understood it inherently. It's just, my life had been about getting through my childhood, getting my next job, paying my rent, surviving. Suddenly, I was thinking about the survival of the earth. I started to link the ravage of the earth with the ravage of my life. The personal became political. Tom and I became a couple. He was a self-proclaimed spy, catcher in the rye, making trouble on unsaved ground. A pseudonym of rebel, out to be devil, the powers he aimed to bring down. I remember that night when he stopped on his bike and we shared love of wild things. I have to confess, it's when I liked him the best. Oh, the outlaw with the tattered wings. He was always in flight, the first part of the night, from the troubled man needing a hand. He stood up to the bastards, all the disasters. He stood up till his legs couldn't stand. If you write of your heroes, should you try to be true? Tell all or nothing at all. I have to confess, what I love about Tom best are the secrets I swore not to tell. Tom was a visionary. Jane Fonda said he saw straight ahead and around corners. He inspired people to partake in their governance. He also pissed a few people off. Among them was a stalker who had been apprehended outside his office, armed to the gills. And he'd just been released from prison, so the Senate provided a security detail to keep us safe. It was during this time that a man sleeping in a truck was observed outside Tom's house. Yeah, would that be a blue Dakota truck with British Columbia license plates? Yeah, that's my dad. Dad was sitting side saddle in the passenger seat, having his first smoke of the day. Well, it's nice to meet you, Senator. Oh, please call me Tom. Ah, If I was a senator, I would insist on never being called anything but. Listen, I appreciate camping here, but if it's not a good look for you, I can go down to the beach. It's no problem at all, Jack. Why don't you come in for a coffee? All coffeeed up. But I could sure use a hot bath. Took one in the Salinas River yesterday. Still feeling a bit chill. And my dungarees could use a good wash, but mindful of the drought, I will just reuse the bath water. Well, you're a lucky day, Jack. We have a washing machine. And, if you need any heavy lifting, I'm available for $5 an hour. Dad was feeling down in the dumps because his last marriage had gone to the dogs, but not before she had racked up his credit card. Now he was broke. While he was humming away in the bathtub, Tom wanted to know more about him. Where did he get that dark skin and those high cheekbones? Well, Dad's parents came from South Dakota, and the story goes his grandmother was Lakota. Oh, well, to Tom, Native American cosmology was the salvation of the earth. You would have married me right then just to have that connection. Well, Dad was not exactly reverent to Mother Earth, but Tom saw native nobility. He set Dad up in the laundry room with a futon and an old TV on top of the dryer. Dad was just fascinated with the Jerry Springer show. He said it gave him the keenest insight into American culture. He fell in love with Tom's dog and found himself a weed dealer, and he was set. He used to spend time with his vet down in the corner. They'd swap stories about the Korean War. Oh, he just made a few missteps in life and found himself without a place to live, and now it's been downhill ever since. Then he brought the guy home for a bath and a shave. The guy was a sad mess, but Dad could relate. He took a clean shirt and pants and underwear out of Tom's closet, slipped it through the bathroom door. The guy splashed around for over an hour and emerged with years of shame just washed away. He left a pile of junk down in the corner and we never saw him again. Dad had no sense of propriety when it came to other people's possessions. Is that another one of my shirts your dad's wearing? Tom was not attached to clothes, but he was a senator. He had to make appearances. So, to steer Dad away from his dress shirts, he laid out his many ties on the staircase and invited Dad to take his pick. Soon, every daytime drinker in the neighborhood was wearing a Tom Hayden tie. Even the Vietnam vet down at Lincoln and Rose was wearing one. Well, Jack, ask him if he's registered to vote. Soon enough, I get up and I find an up before dawn note on the table. Dear Barb, always a pleasure to indulge in your generosity. Please give my thanks to Tom. Oh, by the way, I hope he doesn't mind. I've taken his dog to be my road companion. Yep. I was making a movie in Victoria, themes of redemption, lots of nature, the fragile beauty of Indian summer when the leaves are at their peak, but in an instant will die into the wet gray salt of West Coast winter. I was spending time with my mom. She'd never gotten over my brother's death. She was in the house when he shot himself. When my mom was 15, she found her mother dead of an overdose of sleeping pills. I can't cry, she said. My tears are stuck here. My birthday was coming up, and I got this idea to do a reset with Mom. I wanted us to fly up to Esperanza, where she gave birth to me on that tugboat. So I chartered a seaplane, everything was set to go, and then she went She never goes on. She's always alone. I'm just checking in. There's not much to say. I'm just trying to stop from fading away. Let's pretend that we're close. In the mornings we'll walk, we'll sit by the ocean. We don't have to talk, or your heart didn't break, blood didn't flow. Shame was a river where we didn't go. Let's pretend you spoke French and went back to the town where your mother was born. Your father went down. Dis-moi que two men on a French battleground. I can hold on forever, but I won't let you go. And though you won't answer, I think that you know I learned how to love. I send it to you. I hope you receive it. It's the best I can do. Tom went with me instead. You know, I get terrible motion sickness, so I always have to keep my eye on the horizon. But they kept being pulled away by these epic mudslides down the side of mountains where they had overlogged and denuded all the trees. When I was growing up, the forest just seemed infinite, but from this vantage point, it was glaringly final. I started to feel nauseous. I had to put my head down. And then Tom slipped a card under my nose. Will you marry me? Before I could respond, we had to land it so I could. But I said yes. I like the idea of being married to a senator. It would make me feel more legitimate. I sat the wedding in Clackwood Sound, which was a hotbed of anti-logging environmentalism. I rounded up a Buddhist monk and an indigenous shaman to do the ceremony. Dad was high, happy as a clam. Mom was miserable. Why can't you do anything in a normal way? Like I had the most normal role models. The next day, Tom went on a father-son trip to Alaska before his son went off to college, and I stood on a massive blockade to stop logging trucks from going into pristine forest. And that was our honeymoon. Pretty much set the tone of our marriage. The next time I saw Dad was in the hospital. His cancer was so inevitable, all that smoking, drinking, red meat. They neutered me, he said. It was like losing a beloved dog that bit small children. Turns out he had 9 kids. 2 of them I'd never heard of. He reminisced about how when he was 15, he was catching boxcars, working his way west, working on the railroad and copper mines and bush and on the booms. The harder the work, the more bones he broke, the more noble the work was. It was because of his work that people had homes to live in. Tom got the notion to take us on an odyssey to find Dad's relations in the Black Hills of South Dakota. Dad said he would go from Buffalo. We drove to the Crazy Horse Memorial, and the man in the ticket booth was counting heads, and he looked in the back seat and said, "Oh, sir, are you Native American?" "Well, yes." "Well, then it's free for you and your family." That's the first time I ever paid to be Indian. Then we went to the Pine Ridge Reservation, and we met Charlotte Black Elk, who was a very important Lakota leader. She took a shine to Dad, and she invited him to the Sundance, which is the most sacred ceremony of the Plains Indians. There was not a hope in hell. Dad was going to go dance with half-naked, half-starved vision questers, tearing open their flesh under the blazing hot sun in a blood sacrifice to Mother Earth. But I would. The Sundancers are keening, rattling, singing their invocations to Wonka Tonka. In a blur with eagle feathers and buffalo hide, they pray for strength, to atone for misdeeds, and to fill vows. And then, sharpened shards of buffalo bone are pierced through the sinews in their back, and those are attached to 6 buffalo skulls. The dancer drags them until the flesh tears. Now, women don't do that, but they can give a flesh offering. So I stepped up to have my skin pierced and lopped off with a scalpel 4 times on each shoulder, one for every member of my family. Charlotte Black Elk said, "Sundance is powerful medicine. You'll see." And sure enough, Dad's cancer went into remission. He was feeling spunky enough to bring home a friend from the dog park. She was a little younger than me, had black hair, black eyes, chocolate skin. She was kicking a heroin habit, and Dad was going to watch over her, a little bit like the fox guarding the hen house. She was from a rich Beverly Hills family, and she was shacking up with this broken down logger in our laundry room. But soon enough, Dad took her to Canada, married her, they found an apartment, and before the ink was dry, she threw him and the dog out. Dad was feeling down. He called me, he said there was an old fishing trawler that he'd like to live on and fix up. So I bought it for him. Now it was during this time that Tom was running for mayor of Los Angeles. I was doing my best to be a good political wife. But Tom was not doing his best to be a good husband. We hit a rough patch. I just wanted to leave. He got trounced in the election, and the next morning my sister called to say Dad was in very bad shape. And then the next call was a job in Vancouver, so off I went. It was June. Dad figured he had till August. The wife took him back in, depleted him of all his morphine, and dumped him at the hospital where he went into palliative care. I begged Dad to divorce this woman so that Mom, mother of most of his children, could get his pension. Then he pointed out that the previous wife would get his pension. And besides, surprise, surprise, Mom and Dad were never married. Of course. A week before I finished shooting, Dad called and said it was time to catch the boxcar. So I hurried to the hospital. I got there just before midnight. Sat up talking to him. I fell asleep. He said something. I woke up and I was holding his hand. I've never held my dad's hand before. It was smaller than I thought. This nurse came bustling in, changing his IV. Suddenly she got all teary and said, oh dear, your father's died. Oh, he was such a devil, always giving me candy when he knew I was trying to lose weight. I asked Tom to come up and do the eulogy. He lauded Dad as a character out of a Kerouac novel. Though his work was becoming obsolete, men like Jack could never be replaced. Mom had a peaceful smile on her face, remembering happier times. She couldn't have this moment of loving Dad if he was around to mess it up. Outside, in the parking lot, the divvying of the ashes was going on. I felt like a drug dealer, scooping white powder into baggies and giving it to his friends. Mom went out on the boat and spread the rest of the ashes. She said they blew back and stuck in her throat, along with her uncried tears. A few years later, I was back on Skid Row. This time I was doing a location scout for a film I'd written. This woman came shuffling up. She was wearing a lopsided platinum wig, doing a junkie shuffle. She looked over at me and something about that face. She plopped down on the curb and just kept staring up at me. The director I was with said, oh, poor thing, she thinks she knows me. It was my dad's last wife. His whole pension just went right up her arm. I heard she died a little while later. I dreamed I was walking at the edge of the earth. I could see these bleachers in the arc of the earth, and people were watching the sky, and then suddenly this helicopter came from the other side, plowing across the heaven, and it started to shake and go out of control, and suddenly these two little figures crawled out from either side and threw a golden orb into the sky. The helicopter exploded. I started running after this golden orb. I got underneath and I saw that it was a baby. I kept running and running and running, and it landed in this field in this young girl's arms. She held the baby out to me and said, it's for you. I knew this was a prophetic dream, but what? And then the penny dropped. It was an adoption dream. I started the process right away. Christmas Eve day, I got a call from this young girl. She was 5 months pregnant. She had another toddler. She was white. The father was black. They couldn't be together. She was the one, I knew. Then, mid-March, we got the call. So we flew out to Illinois. I held on to her hand, and her mother held on to her other hand. At 2:29 a.m., the baby emerged. I cut the cord, and we called him Liam. Tom went back to the Senate, and I took the baby back to the motel until I could leave the state. And I went into a panic. Oh my God, what have I done? Oh. I kept putting my finger under his nose to make sure he was breathing. 4 nights, I couldn't sleep. And then finally I put all these bottles, these plastic bottles and rims and nipples into this dinky little dishwasher. And I fell asleep. I dreamed that he had dissolved and disappeared down the drain. I woke up and the baby was wailing and the room was filled with acrid black smoke. The nipples and bottles had fallen on the heating ring and caused it to short. So the birth mom, when she called me and invited me for dinner, I was eager to get out of that room. She lived in a cramped little apartment with her toddler and her mother and her new stepdad, a pipe fitter in a nuclear power plant. He stuck a radiated finger in Ian's cheek and said, "Oh, looks like you got lucky here. Not a bad complexion, not too dark." We sat watching the news with our TV trays piled high with pork chops and mashed potatoes, and there was this item on the news about how black workers were marching across a bridge demanding equal wages to the white workers. They don't want to work. They're just looking for any excuse not to work. Lazy, lazy, lazy. Like her guy. Oh, look at her. Oh. Now don't get me wrong. Her guy, he's a real and he dropped the N-word. That was a gift. All my insecurity just fell away. I knew why I was there. I picked Liam up in my arms, held him close. In that moment, I became a mother. May you grow with no fear, knowing I'm always near. I want to give you so much, but not too much. I want to be your first touch, be the voice that you hear when you're trembling with tears. I hope you like dogs. You'll be my reason to sleep when I can, and to keep my eyes open with you. I'll love you long as I can. That baby boy was the biggest blessing of my life. When Liam was still an infant, his dad had a heart attack, which led to a quintuple bypass. It held for a good stretch, but it's time to write books. And Tom's work was always more important than his health. When Liam was 15, Tom came back from doing an investigation into fracking in the Central Valley. He was sitting at the table just piling his plate full of food. And he said, "Where's my fork?" It's right there, beside your plate. "No, I just had a fork. Where's my fork?" "Tom, it's right there on your plate." "Where are you?" They call this a neglect stroke. You can see, you just don't understand what you're seeing. Ironic for a visionary like Tom. His hospital room was always filled with close friends, people he had mentored, people he had worked with, people he had saved from prison, from destitution, from deportation. A man of the people. Jane came in and she did a whole round of forgiveness. Tom was very much a fallen Catholic, but he wanted people praying all the time. Just maybe hedging his bets, just in case. Yeah. Father Boyle came and gave him a blessing. It was just a few weeks before the 2016 election. Tom whispered, "I even forgive Troy." Father Boyle said, "Well, then I know you're ready for heaven." And he was. He had put in his time. October 23rd. Everybody went out for dinner. I stayed behind, put my head beside Tom's. He struggled to speak. He said, "Are we safe?" I wasn't sure what he meant, but I put his hand in mine and I said, "Yes, we're safe." His eyes shifted over to the hallway. He knew the world was about to change. He felt something bad was coming. He saw around the corner. He mouthed the words, "I can't breathe." There have been 3 profound events in my life that happened while I was holding the hand of someone dear to me. When my dad took his last breath, all the resentment and blame I held for the woes of my childhood just fell away. When Liam's birth mother was in labor and I saw his head crown, I experienced unconditional love for the first time. When the life left Tom, it felt like I was leaving, like I was being sucked backward through a tunnel. I had to make a sound to come back into the room. Along with my own grief, I felt the collective grief of all the people whose lives he had changed. President Obama wrote me a beautiful letter. The last line of it reads, "Tom's spirit lives on in the generations of young people who have been guided by his commitment to that most American of values. The people who love their country can change it." A silent no becomes a yes. Hope turns into hopelessness. When the very good have stopped the quest, the very worst are called the best. Push that rock to the top of the hill.
We're very grateful. Thank you. If anyone would like to take home one of her books that this play is based on, there's QR codes and you can just leave a donation, whatever you want, and grab the book, take that
And it's
home.
all for the musicians and technicians.
For everyone. And then we're getting all the goodies out. There's going to be sweets and drinks over there.